Hey everyone, Tony D with a hot take about the Democratic convention, the Democratic race for president. Joe Biden pulls a win. Who'd have seen it coming? I did get the sense. Oh, come here, Joan. Here's Joan, otherwise known as Little Poopy Dog, who has pooped all over the house today. Yeah, like 4 times in the house. That is a new record, Poop Dog. Yeah, and it was all today. I could tell. I had to pick it up. Anyhow, speaking of poop, Democrats. Uh, no, come on, that was harsh. The Democrats are just in such sad shape, but it's probably a positive that Biden is starting to eke out a win here. He campaigned. It was the only state he really campaigned in was South Carolina. He kind of campaigned in other ones, but he really, he I think he left the the Nevada one early just to go campaign in South Carolina. Good move. Good move. And that's what he needed to do. He needs to be out there on the campaign trail, even though he's an old guy and he's starting to fall apart. It seemed to work well for him. He didn't have a tremendous amount of gaffes. I think partly because in South Carolina they're more traditional, and he didn't have to try to weave these stories of social justice that are kind of like he's barely able to weave them together. He could just talk about being a regular old politician, and people in South Carolina probably responded to that, as opposed to all these nut jobs that are trying to take over the Democratic Party. Come here, Joe. There, all right, just be nice. So he is now starting to rise. He's starting to raise money again, and which is big news for the Democrats, because what we're probably headed towards now, it looks like, is a contested election. Super Tuesday is going to tell the tale. If Bernie sweeps it, and there's going to be big problems. But if Biden can hold on to a couple of states, and now he's got some momentum finally, if he can eke out a few wins, and they could go in there in a contested election, they could just have the super delegates vote Bernie out, and then say, well, we didn't pick the front runner because we felt the others had a better chance at beating Trump, which flies in the face of their whole let's eliminate the Electoral College BS, but at least it would provide them with some cover. Now, the Bernie bros are going to absolutely lose their mind if this happens. They're going to riot for sure in Milwaukee. Bernie bros, you could actually surprise people by not doing that. I recommend you don't do that. I recommend you do some sort of, event, non-violent event, where if you really want to creep people out, show up in suits. Every member of Antifa should show up perfectly dressed, in a nice suit or dress or whatever you want to wear, and just walk through the streets silently and silent protest, not harming anyone. And I'm sure that would get coverage on the news, and I'm sure it would be effective. Maybe you could put like tape over your mouth, like, and that would be, oh, we're being silenced. You could all wear the same color. I mean, there'd be like ways you could make a statement with your collectivist stuff, but it would require discipline and organization, which sadly, or maybe not sadly, you don't have. You don't have any organization, so what's going to happen is you're going to have a bunch of college kids riot in Milwaukee. Some of them will be from out of town, egging people on. Those will be the guys in the back going, yeah, get them, guys, and then they'll take off while the cops beat you senseless. There'll be a ton of arrests, and it's not going to be a good scene if that happens. Now, it could be that this doesn't matter, and Biden, despite this win, loses all the states in Super Tuesday, and they all go to Bernie Sanders. I kind of think that with this momentum, Biden is bound to win at least one state? I mean, he's got to. Um, and really, Democrats as a whole are not into Bernie Sanders. They're just not into socialism, and he is a socialist and basically a communist. So most people see the writing on the wall. They see he can't win against Trump, especially now, especially after all the stuff that came out about him. This is part of the vetting process, too, when you think about it. Everybody's gotten vetted at one point or another. I think Buttigieg kind of got a raw deal. I think his vetting didn't seem very accurate. Tulsi Gabbard, of course, got completely shafted. Elizabeth Warren, I don't know why she's still in it at this point. Tom Steyer dropped out. Thank God. I mean, what an embarrassment that guy is. Who knows what he'll do. Probably write a book and keep making videos. He is such a non-entity, even in the Democratic Party. You got to wonder why he even ran. It would be interesting to see him run as a Republican, him and Bloomberg. Bloomberg, of course, will probably stay in it because he's self-funded, and I think he's an egomaniac. So, he's going to come into Super Tuesday, and maybe he'll win a state. I don't know which state he can win. Not sure which states are in play here. I believe they're all in the middle of the country. But, yeah, I can't see Mike Bloomberg really. He'll have a few delegates, certainly. But after his really poor debate performances, why would you vote for him? I mean, if he can't put up a good front against fellow Democrats, how do you expect him to go up against a guy like Trump, who will just cut him off at the knees or the waist, as the case may be? Trump would absolutely stomp him. Bloomberg is not used, I don't think, to direct confrontation, obviously. If he was, he would have handled those debates a lot better. Sticks and Hammer 666 says that Elizabeth Warren isn't very good as a debater, that when she's confronted, she gets flustered. I don't know if I totally agree with that. I mean, she's certainly gotten better. I mean, going after Mike Bloomberg, if she has a plan, I think she could do okay. I don't think she'll get the nomination now, although I thought at one point she did. She would. I really don't think Joe Biden should get it, but it might just happen that Biden is the only viable choice at this point. I think if Buttigieg becomes his VP, it's a lock, and that's what Biden should be doing right now. He should be, Buttigieg would be a good VP for him. I think he's nice and young. He's the youngest guy on stage. He checks off the box as one of the protected groups for the Democrats, and he generally agrees with Biden on most things. So I think they would be a good combo. And then Biden could easily say, after my first term or after 3 years, I'm going to start to transition things to Buttigieg, and then let him be president. And then the last 6 months he's president, and then he gets the run, or maybe he wants to run 2 terms. So he'll endorse Buttigieg. He'll train Buttigieg how to be president. That would be a good move on Biden's part, because there's no way Biden can do 2 terms. My God, can he even survive a campaign against Trump? I don't even know. But I think Buttigieg is their best chance. Elizabeth Warren should definitely not be in the forefront. She's just bad. Bernie, of course, I've pretty much said all I need to say about Bernie. He is just going to lose against Trump. I don't know if the Democrats would put Bernie up unless, I guess if he swept Super Tuesday, they might feel like, well, we got no choice at this point. But God, what a disaster he would be. I kind of hope he gets it. But again, I'd like to see this socialism stamped out once and for all. I'd like to see it in a fair fight, go up against Trump, and see Trump just totally win, and watch the Bernie bros go, oh my God, we don't have any support. Watch all the working people go, F you, commie, and vote for anybody but Bernie. Because I think that's generally the way it would go. You're not going to get working people voting for a guy who's going to raise their taxes probably by 50%, 60%, just so they could fund healthcare and college for people who they don't even know. You know, it's one thing. I mean, it's tough enough to fund college for your own kids. I mean, when you're just paying like onerous taxes for your entire life. I mean, it's not like you pay it for 4 years and like, well, I paid my share. It's no, you're going to pay for your entire life. You know, at least if you're only just paying for college for your own kids, you pay it off and then at some point it's done. Hopefully, and if your kids are smart and they get a scholarship, maybe it doesn't cost you even that much. But my God, to have everybody pay everybody else's way just seems like nonsense. And it's not going to get, that's the one thing about college. It won't get any cheaper if the government pays for it. In fact, it'll probably get more expensive. Maybe they'd put in price controls, but who wants that? I mean, that's not going to work. What would work is if the opposite happened. Not only with no free college, start cutting the money for these universities and colleges that quite frankly don't even need it. Let them fight it out. Let them fight out the students by offering good programs that get people jobs and that teach them good things, as opposed to offer them like bells and whistles that they end up paying for the rest of their lives. Anyhow, Sleepy Joe is back. Will he win? Stay tuned.